Hey everybody, this is Derek Whalen, Channel Agronomist in Southern Illinois. Wanted to do a quick video update focusing on some agronomy here in Southern Illinois. I've got with me Brian Rudolphi, Channel Field Sales Rep. Brian, do you want to talk about your territory and what you've been seeing lately?
Yeah, so I cover the southwestern part here of the state, Madison, Bond, Clinton, St. Clair, Monroe, Randolph, and Washington counties. Been a little bit up and down on the weather down here lately. Had some nice conditions last week, but roughly 14 days ago we had an inch of rain, slowed some guys down. Had a lot of wheat still having to be put harmony on and top dressed last week. So with not having a lot of anhydrous put on, with very little anhydrous being put on down here in the fall, a lot of guys were doing burn down and putting on anhydrous last week. So not a lot of planting has been done here in my territory. I'd say less than 10% of the acres have been planted. The bulk of those being soybeans. And I guess if I was to look at the forecast moving forward, I would highly recommend, if you want to plant anything this week, to look at just think about putting beans in the ground instead of over corn. So I know, Derek, the GDUs just haven't been accommodating us very much for the corn, have they?
Yeah, we had a good week last week with warm temperatures, up in the low 80s. But as Brian mentioned, a lot of his territory and really a lot of I-70 south in Illinois, just too wet. A few weeks ago, as Brian mentioned, heavy rainfall. As you go further south, they saw 2 inches from that rain about 2 weeks ago. So just pretty wet soil conditions, wasn't a lot of activity. But stuff that did get planted last week, we racked up some nice GDUs if you planted earlier in the week. But here this week, we're gonna rack up some here yesterday, today, tomorrow. But as we get into Thursday, Friday, and especially over the weekend, we're gonna get down into temperatures in the low 30s, Saturday, Sunday over the weekend. So here over the next 5 to 7 days, we're not going to be racking up a lot of GDUs. So as you mentioned, with the rainfall coming, they're forecasting upwards of an inch Thursday night into Friday. As Brian mentioned, if soil conditions are fit, I would think about planting soybeans. They're definitely a lot tougher than corn. With corn, we want even emergence. And with the heavy rainfall coming that they're forecasting for Thursday and Friday, we could see some potential crusting issues from that heavy rainfall. So if you are thinking about planting anything, maybe think of soybeans for this week.
And if you really seem like or feel like you need to plant corn, let's make sure our planting depth is as consistent as we can get. Don't shallow it up just so you think you can get a quicker emergence in these colder temps. A little bit deeper the better. At least 2 inches in this. You got a little bit better soil, more temperament, even soil temperature, at that 2 inches, then you do it, say, an inch.
Yep. And then another thing we want to think about as we always do every early spring, in April, or if it's a cooler May, we want to think about imbibitional chilling. So chilling injury on seedlings, corn or soybeans. That's generally the biggest concern for agronomists and for guys working in the seed industry. Corn is taking up the first drink of water in the first 24 to 48 hours of its life, whereas soybeans takes up that water in the first 24 hours. So that's where we get kind of nervous planting ahead of cooler conditions. That first 48 hours after we put seed in the ground is really important. And if we're seeing soil temperatures dipping down into the high to mid 30s, that's when we can see a lot more of that chilling injury, where those cell walls start to burst and we get leafing out underground with corn, and then we're starting ourselves off on a bad foot. So as we're still sitting here, April 18th today, we want to make sure we're waiting for optimal soil conditions. I know every year we can't wait for perfect conditions, but we do want to start ourselves off on the best foot. So another thing we want to mention is think about our weed control programs, more specifically on soybeans. So one thing we want to think about is trying to avoid those harsh PPO herbicides on our soybeans if we can. If we're planting here in the next few days, or planting here by the end of April or first week of May. Brian, what are your thoughts on water hemp control in soybeans?
Yeah, let's make sure we layer our residuals there a little bit closer to when we think the water hemp's going to emerge, Derek. Water hemp takes roughly about the same amount of GDUs to get out of the ground as corn does. That 150 to 170 GDU range. So there's really no reason to put your harsh PPO herbicides down in April when we know water hemp might not emerge for another 3 to 4 weeks. So So really consider that, you know, that little soybean plant's metabolizing cold soil temps and metabolizing seed treatments already. Let's maybe not slow that down any more than we have to, you know, with a harsher PPO herbicide. So they're great compounds, they work, but let's give that little soybean plant a chance to get going also.
Yep. And the last thing we want to mention is just reminding everybody to stay safe. Don't get in a big rush this spring. We know we want to get crops in the ground as fast as we can, but let's make sure we're staying safe, slowing down when we can. Any final thoughts with that?
No, just guys, just try to get home every day. Take your time. We got plenty of time here, as Derek mentioned. It's only April 18th. We still got a lot of growing degree units to pick up here. So we haven't missed nothing yet. So be safe out there. Thank you very much.